souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight was. So Starlight was, but right now it's like a little sprinkle out there. So I won't be able to, I cannot use my phone out there with a video. Nope. Well, my new one, yeah, because my son got a cover for that, but I really don't use my new one for recording so much as I do my old one. So anyway, I am here at the library making the video today because I didn't want to be in the car. I just wanted to get in a comfortable setting like this and more lighting and less sound, background sound. So anyway, I love you so much, and thank you for all of you who joined me. Most of you I have met in person. There's someone out there I have never met them, but man, I'm waiting to meet that special someone out there. I'm so grateful for all of you that are here loving and supporting Starlight, and all of you who have subscribed to my YouTube channel. Yay! Woo! And if you are new to my YouTube channel, you can find me on YouTube, and that is at Starlight, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, thank you to all of you who give me thumbs up. You send me a message. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. Swing by and send Starlight a message. Really, that is a part of where people need to heal, by not being worried about who cares what anybody thinks. There is somebody that I haven't heard from in a long time. When she's here, she doesn't care what people think. She's just gonna reach out and say hi. So anyway, that's letting go of fear. So anyway, don't be a stranger around here. We're supposed to be all family here, love, light, and peace. And also, you could share any of my videos with your family or friends. Ravens, yes, we're going to say the ravens. I am sorry. I normally don't do this in these videos. That's an old introduction, the way I used to do. But anyway, you can share my videos, and thank you for those of you who have. And if you want to reach out to me and send me a message, as you can on my Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, anybody who would love to send any love donations to Starlight. Starlight's birthday will be coming up August 25th. So if anyone would really love to send any love donations or a gift to Starlight, Starlight would love to receive. Believe me, Starlight always has something. We all have needs, right? And but Starlight would definitely love to receive that, and you can do that through my Cash App, and I will have that information here. Ping! There it is. And okay, so today, this is really important, and this is really for families. This is a family video, and it's because of, there's no accidents or coincidences in this universe. Like, my body has been aching a lot because of my situation, not having things set up right in the back of my car. And so my back has been hurting for days. And so I was going to do one thing, but then I canceled that out, and I decided, what I really need? But it kind of didn't work because I really want to be in deeper water. This was a swimming place that I went, but, I could stand up, in it. I'm not going to drown in there because it's really meant for the little kids. Of course, adults can go in there, but I really needed deeper water so my body can. Because it's really good for your body. Swimming is really good for your body. Depending on what is going on. Of course, sometimes swimming is not really. You're not supposed to go swimming right now so I don't want you to say, hey, if you're going through stuff with your body, just jump in the water. No, you got to be wise. But for what is going on with Starlight, being in this water is a great place because it's good for your relaxing your muscles and stuff like that. And anyway, so it's been like 3 years that I've been at this place, and it's been so long, I forgot what it was like, what it looked like and everything, and it was kind of like a like at a desert, it's like this. Oh yeah, now I remember. Yeah, now it was just a coming together as it was strange how this went. And it is kind of funny how the universe. I got the 1111 twice today, and a Target truck. When I say a Target truck, most of you are not even going to understand what the heck is a Target truck, but that's a confirmation from the universe, is that I needed to do something different today again, get out of my comfort zone, and that is what I did. And I needed water. Getting my body into water is the place that I needed to go today. And it wasn't sunny. Normally Starlight would not go there if it wasn't sunny, but I did get inspired by somebody because I was telling them how I need to get the water because my back really needs to kind of, I need to go swimming just to kind of get my back feeling better. And so he said, go for it, and I did, that's all I need. There goes Starlight. I was already, going there. So I needed that kind of like a push, to just kind of get me there, because I don't like going swimming unless it's sunny. But I really needed to get in that water. That water meant everything to me. So anyway, I get to the location, and it, it's kind of funny is I didn't have any money. The last few dollars that I had, I gave it to a lady that I've been helping out. She, she always appreciates everything. I feed her, great dinners, great meals. I've been helping her out a lot, getting to know her. Starlight will stick up for her. You don't want to say nothing bad about this lady. Starlight will bark at you. So anyway, it's so cool how the universe does things. And so here Starlight didn't have any dollar bills. I gave that away. And my bank card is still in the mail. Hasn't arrived to where it needs to go yet. So I thought this was a free swimming place. And I'll tell you what, this has happened more than once. I've gone to hiking where I didn't know they were going to charge. I get all the way there, didn't have money on the card, didn't have cash in hand. And I'm like, I drove all this way. I didn't know that you guys are going to charge, what, $30 to park the car? I'm just kidding. Starlight, don't mind Starlight. She's going to get through this. But it was $8 per car to go through the gate, the Golden Gate. So I was like, I told the lady I drove all the way this distance. I didn't Google it at all. I've gone here a long time ago. I thought it was free. And I'm being honest. This is the whole kick in the ass. When you're honest, how many times have you actually said shit and you just drove in and just backed out and left, But here I let this lady know, hey, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, she goes, you know what? I'm going to let you go. She goes, just next time, just remember, I'm like, oh, that's how the universe works. So there, I didn't even have to pay $8. It was on the universe. Thank you, universe. And I did. I thank the universe, for paying for the $8, to the fee to go there. And they said there was not a lot going on there. And it wasn't. The parking lot was really, not a lot of people there. I've gone there before where, wow, there's a lot of people, a lot of cars, Of course, the sun would have been out. So anyway, Starlight gets all set up at the swimming spot, and because there was not a whole lot of people there, they only had one guard, a lifeguard there. They have a whole lot of different spots for other lifeguards, but hey, they don't need that many guards when there are only that little bit of people. So they just keep everybody in this one, like this is exactly, I know what it feels like being a fish. I experienced what a fish feels like. If you got fish, Now, if your children watching this video, don't listen to Starlight because I don't want you to get in trouble with your family. But let your fishies out of the tank. Let them go find a place where they don't have to be in the tank. Because Starlight felt like she was in a fish tank today. I really did. I found a spot way in the back where the ropes are, and you don't want to go on the other side of the rope, because nobody's been going there in the bush, the nasty plants and all that stuff is in the water past that rope. So anyway, I'm being a good girl, staying in the, in my fish tank. I never thought of this before until today, because I did. I felt like a big ass fish in a fish tank. So it was so funny is I would go down in the water with my eyes. I love having my eyes open if I can get away with that. I had tested it out. Can I actually see anything down here? But I did. I was going along where the rope was, and I just felt like that was like the glass, can't go past that, but I did. I felt like a fish. I just gotta have my sense of humor here with you all on this. So don't mind Starlight, but I did feel like a fish today. But as I was trying to get my body, because I've been at a chiropractor. I could, make an appointment for that. But man, last time I went to those, funny sounds come out of I don't even know if those are soundproof walls or not in those places, but you don't want to hear Starlight getting cracked. So anyway, back to the story, back to where I was in this fish tank, going swimming. So there was these 3 young boys, and I can't tell you their ages because it's crazy, is my grandson is going to be 7 years old, and it's he's and I don't want to say this, well, he's not with me right here, but I always say that he's going to sprout out later, but his mom is not that tall, and his daddy's, his dad's probably about my height, which I'm 5'5". So, anyway, as I'm fishing in my little fish tank outside, that there's these 3 boys playing with each other and in the water and being goofy, saying, so I'm just in my own little fish tank thinking, listening. I can't help but listening to these boys because they're really loud, they're having fun. And this video is about really inspiring people. Homeschool your kids now. This is my message for today. Have you ever thought about homeschooling your kids? Now is a good time to think about that. I'm so serious. These kids, I'm kind of comparing the size of my grandson that's going to turn 7 years old. And like I said, he's not a tall 7 years old. He's just going to be going to 1st grade, So these boys are not, they might be 8 years old, 9 years old, somewhere in that area. The things that they were doing and the things that they were saying and the things that they were laughing at disgusted me. I was totally disgusted. It really took away, I did enjoy the water, but it was I just couldn't believe what was coming out of these boys' mouth. And I'm where are the moms? Where's the family? Who owns these kids? Whose parents? Where's their parents? And I understand that there's a lifeguard there, and I know that they don't have to have the parents right there, because these boys, they were in the right kind of, they were in the same spot where I was, for the water. So there were different sizes, one was a bigger boy. When I say bigger boy, it was kind of more on the round side, and 2 smaller ones, and they were about the same size, so I'm assuming, it's hard to say with these ages, with the sizes, like I said, my grandson is going to sprout out later on. I don't want to say that my grandson's short, you know, but he's going to sprout out later on. I just couldn't. I enjoyed myself, and I needed to go anyway, but this really got me to get out of the water even quicker. And it's kind of funny how this happened too, is because I couldn't deal with what I was hearing anymore. It was kind of like tormenting. It's kind of crazy. It was just like affecting me in a negative way, because I couldn't believe this was coming out of their mouths and the actions that they were doing. And so as I was getting out, they were getting out. It's like, man, if I knew you guys were going to get out, I would have stayed longer. But the interesting thing is when I did get out, they were walking, because I want to know, where are they? Where are their parents? So all the three of the boys, there was a group of ladies that were kind of sitting, with their chairs and facing the water so they could see the boys and, whatever. And it's the mothers. And they're all sitting there together. And the boys, they crossed through to go to their moms. And then the boys, I can hear it. The boys are telling their moms that are talking to each other what they were doing. And they even said certain words, and I was like, and the women, the moms, are laughing about the whole thing, laughing about it, thinking it was all funny. But they didn't hear everything, see everything and know what was going on in the water where I was. I was like traumatized over hearing and witnessing what these boys were talking about. I'm serious. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to tell you, the kid, you got to think, I had never heard that kind of freaking shit. I've been around some crazy ass people my whole life. I've heard a lot of nasty jokes in my life from adult men, but these were little boys. These were things that, you would think should never came out of their mouth. These kids are exposed, and I'm going to point blank say it, to porn. Sterling, how dare you say that? Sorry, I did. Because that's what they were talking about, and they were acting it out. They're all three boys. That's exactly. I just was mind blown at their young age. Too young. And they were acting like they were making their own, okay, I'm gonna not hold back, their own porn movie. That's what they were doing. And they were acting it out in the water. Literally acting it out. But with two boys, not a guy and a girl. They have been exposed some wicked shit. And the things that came out of their mouth was horrible. I mean, my kids, when my son was, that stuff never. I brought my kids up in church. My kids were brought up in church. That kind of behavior never happened. Even with my daughter, that stuff never happened in my house with my two kids. Even when I grew up, that shit did not happen. Like talking about stuff like that, acting that out. But that's exactly what they were doing. They were acting out. And they were actually acting like a director, like cut, and having little storylines to go along with what, they were really creative, I'll tell you that much, for three little boys. But it's like, where is this coming from? And they were talking about, It was horrible. It was so horrible. But the things that they went back and told their mommies and their moms, like they just laughed it all off. If I was one of those moms and I heard my son come to me and say, yeah, we were making this movie out there, they didn't explain the whole thing, what they were doing, but I saw what they were doing. They literally, it was acting out as a porn video, but with men. But the crazy thing is, they acted like they were going to make babies, being two boys. I just couldn't handle anymore being in the water. That's when I was so disgusted. I had to get out of there. I couldn't handle hearing this. But no accidents or coincidence. It's like the universe sends me places so I can witness these things and see really what is going on with these kids these days. Not all kids are like this. But what's up with the parents? What's going on in these parents' houses? Where are these kids going? Whose houses are they spending time with? Are these kids getting tapped into the internet? They're seeing stuff. They're watching it. They were making jokes about things that are not even funny. Saying stuff like, oh, I'm only 16 years old. I don't know what that was about, but it had to do with the porn crap and having sex. The crazy stuff that was coming out of their mouth, I was like, man, it's like, it was just too shocking for my whole mental, I was like, I just couldn't believe I witnessed this stuff. And something ain't right. And the school system, I don't know if all school systems are doing this, but they want to, and I've actually witnessed it before somewhere else with boys again, where they were talking about girls that didn't want to be with boys, that they wanted to be, with a girl instead. Like, hey, now you don't have to be, if you don't want, Starly, if you don't want to be a girl, you don't have to. You could be a boy. No, I like I told somebody, I am 100% female here. I'm happy that I'm 100% female. This is how God made me to be. Now, there's people out there that they change things around. I love those people, just like what I was taught a long time ago. I love the people. I don't have to like what they're doing though. I don't have to be rude to those people. I don't have to be nasty, and I don't have to try to go and hurt any of those people. I don't have to like what they're doing either. But these boys, like if you got kids or even grandkids, and I know a lot of times if it's not your kids, maybe it's your grandkids that are going to school. It's really up to the mom and dad, isn't it, where they go to school. My grandson goes to public school right now. I just recently talked to my son, but you know what? That was a long time ago, I realized. When I was going to school, at a certain age, but of course it's all programmed. They're programming your kids when they get in, and everything got changed around a lot now with the teachings in the school system. How they're teaching, what they're teaching, and we don't even know really as parents really what goes on in the classrooms for many grades. We don't know really what is being said in the classrooms, right? Because you're not there, So this is a really good time to really think about, where's your kids? Are they in public school? I can't control what my son does with his children. I can encourage him, and I do, to think about homeschooling, you know, but many times people know what the work is about, being with their kids 24/7. And bills do have to get paid, right? I know I was a stay-at-home mom, but you know what? I loved it. Maybe the relationship wasn't good, but I love being with my kids 24/7. That's what being a mom is about. That's what being a parent is about, is being there for them. Making sure they're getting the best education they can get. Making sure they are cared for. You have to protect your children. These boys, what are they going to turn out later on? And I have to do a visual like that. I mean, I am so serious. What I said earlier, they were acting this out on two boys were literally with their shorts on for swimming, were acting like they were in a porn video of two men, and they were acting out like they were having sex with each other in the water. Nobody knew what was going on except for Starlight, because that was the closest person that was there, that heard everything, witnessed everything. That's like 8 years old to 10 years old. 3 boys. What do you think? How do you think they're going to turn out later on? They're making funny jokes about this stuff, laughing at it, making funny jokes. And then they're like making jokes about women, you know, talking about going with this girl because she's got big breasts and big butt. And then they're going to their parents' house and saying, oh yeah, and they're actually saying this stuff. Nobody corrected the children one bit at all. Nobody had a, you know, like, hey, what did you just say? No. Nobody corrected 3 of those boys. How many ladies are out there? I don't know who, you know, the other extra women were, and I don't know where their kids were. But the 3 boys, nobody ever even spoke up and said, shit. That never happened when my kids were brought up. They didn't talk like that stuff. They didn't talk dirty talk when they were being brought up. That stuff did not exist. My son never talked in a perverted way. Neither did my daughter. I never heard such thing in my life coming from, you know, I've heard these things, like gross things on movies or maybe porn videos. Yes, I did watch porn. I'm a human. But these are boys. They're really just babies starting out. And they're making fun of this stuff. You know, it's almost like making fun about like a raped victim. This is how sick this stuff was. Because that's what they were acting out. I don't know where these boys got this stuff from, but they were witnessing stuff. They're hearing stuff. Who's teaching them this stuff? That's why it's so important. I just made a couple of videos, and it's so important. It's about, are you having a hard time getting your kids to get outside? Well, this is another, who's watching your children? I had an aunt that I would go to her house when I was growing up. My parents didn't know that aunt liked watching porn. They were into some funky stuff at their house. You never know what relatives or family they weren't even our cousins really. We just called each other cousins. But I remember going to their house and they let us watch a movie of animals. It was a porn a porn video of animals, every kind of animal that you could think of. They were all having sex. All of them. This was what was put in front of me as a little kid, around that same age like these kids here, 10 years old, just watching a bunch of animals having sex. That's why it's so important that you really know, You never know what people are doing. Did my mom and dad know they were doing that? No, unless we told them that they were doing that. They would have never known. That person that we actually called an aunt, I'm not in contact with that person. I didn't want nothing, I was thinking the wicked stuff that I grew up with, seeing with that person that we called an aunt. It was wicked stuff that I saw and witnessed and heard as a kid. But it should have never been. It's so important that you make sure, that you need to protect your children, whether it's from the school system, the churches. Yeah, the churches. Just because you send your children to a church doesn't mean that they're safe. A lot of people are looking for a free babysitter. But people need to think of that before they start having babies. Why are you're planning on having a baby? Well, why are you planning on having a baby? Are you planning on just having it, other people to babysit your kids for free? Like dropping it off at the public school? I didn't want my kids in public school when they were growing up, but I had to. I was a single mom. I had no choice. So really think twice about, where your kids are going to school, who's watching them, where are they? Because that kind of talk and that behavior should never happen. And it's sad that it is. I had to witness that. But if I never went swimming there, I would have never known how bad it can be out there with those kids. Those kids need help, because they're going in the wrong way. And they all were laughing. They all were thinking it was all funny, and it's not funny. But nobody's helping them with that, I don't know where the parents are. Where are they dropping their kids off? Where did they get this stuff from? Because I know the school system has a good part in this, And so anyway, I love you so much, really. Think about homeschooling your kids, but not only think about homeschooling your kids, think about where are your kids? What are the people that have your kids? What are they teaching what are they letting your kids do that you don't know about? Because, if the kids don't go home and tell you stuff, you may never know. You could be a great parent. And because sometimes you could be a great parent wanting to bring your kids up for God or whatever, but you might have relatives, they don't love God. They don't want nothing to do with God. So when you bring them that way, or even their friend's house, maybe they don't have a relationship with God. They don't have anything goes kind of stuff, You really got to think of where your kids are going. How did these boys get like that? There's a reason how they got like that. The crap that I saw today, I might have stayed there an hour, swimming around, that's it. I wanted longer time because my body needed more time I really needed deeper water is what I needed, but I couldn't handle hearing that anymore. So, think really, if you can make a way of having that happen. And a lot of people, the dollar bill or safety of the kids, their future. A lot of times it's what it is. It's the dollar bill versus the children's safety. There's many times somebody could, all the extra spending of money on things that you don't really need, Imagine all the money that you waste on things that you're not going to take with you later on, that your kids could be in a safe environment at the house, being homeschooled. And you really do, you got to protect your children and, find out, like, what kind of friends do they have? A lot of kids, parents don't even care. They just drop them off because it's a free babysitter. Get out of my hair. I was brought up with this. Children are to be seen and not heard. That is what I was growing up with. The door goes two ways, in and out. So those are some statements that I was hearing when I was growing up. What was yours? What was your parents telling you when you were growing up? That's not really the kind of things that we ought to be telling our kids in the first place. I wanted my kids to be with me all the way up until they got married. So anyway, I love you so much. This is Starlight Namaste. This is Starlight Love, Light, and Peace.